Game on.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on today's edition of a very relaxed Glen's Retro Show. I decided to take this particular video into my theater room because my studio is actually packed. I have no room to work in there.
Say what?
So I received something in the mail the other day, something really neat. It's from a friend of mine, JC, who runs Tulsa Arcades, and he sent me something to enhance the look of my machine. I mean, there's nothing with the machine itself that he's enhancing with this, but it's just something that really adds a little wow factor to it. And what he sent me was his custom riser light-up kit with my logo on it. So today on Glen's Retro Show, we're going to take a look at this little guy and install it and see how it enhances, well, the lower part of your machine. This doesn't really get too much attention, but it will after something like this. Let's have a look. Okay, so let's have a look at what's included in the kit. Of course, you get your new custom front piece that you're going to replace your Arcade1UP riser with. So this will be coming off. We'll be putting this on in its place. He also includes, we're going to call this like a blackout board. When you put in the included LEDs, you may get some light bleed coming up, because this here is open. So you'll put this in here simply to circumvent light bleed in there. I've been thinking though, in a machine like this, maybe you put some red transparent film over that. I might try that. It might give a nice glow to the front of this. Just an idea I'm going to try out. And of course we have a remote control for our lights. And he also includes a couple of screws to put this in. So there's not a lot to do to make this modification. But I've seen some of these already. And it lights up really well. I put this in front of a window just the other day just to see how it lights up. And it looks really well. And this opens up a whole bunch of different possibilities. I know some people probably already have done that, but instead of even putting something like this here, you could put in a monitor and play some video from a movie or something like that. And that may be something to do down the line. But for right now, this is too neat not to leave as is and to put in here. So the wood is custom cut. He has his own milling equipment. So he has recreated this wood here. He obviously put a decal on this part here. And all around this is real T-molding. This real T-molding go all the way around over here. And you've got a piece of plexiglass here, and then a secondary piece of plexiglass, so the image is actually sandwiched between the two. And the wood is nice and smooth. There's no splinters on it or anything like that. It's very nicely done. It looks really good. So the real thing to do now is simply take this one off and put this one on. Now, you probably could do it with the machine left in place, but I'm going to take it down just to play it safe. I don't want to take a chance here. Not that I've had accidents in the past, but maybe I've had some accidents in the past. In any case, we're going to take this machine down. We're going to take off this front panel here and put it in place. It should only take a few minutes, so let's get started. So again, it's not too much of a hard thing to do. We simply take out 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to remove this front panel here. So we're going to do that right now. Make sure our thing is set to going out. We'll pull this forward. Now this won't be needed anymore, so we can put this aside. And we do need to take out these 4 dollies. They are not needed, so we're going to pull them out. We'll take these and put them on the side as well. Okay, so like I said, you're going to have to pull these things out. You usually have to get something very thin to get under there, then some other tool to kind of pry them up a little bit more to get them out completely without damaging anything. I hate damaging things, so I always try and do it in a way that won't. So then you're also going to have to take over your new one, kind of just get the general idea of where they're going to go. So we'll put it upside down like so. It's not very hard to do. Just going to pull it out of this one and find a spot close to where that one was. Doesn't have to be perfect, unless you're me, in which case everything has to be perfect. Then you can just push it back down in. And you can do it with your finger, as you can see right there. And do the same thing for the other side. Got to pull out a little bit more. Here we go. And line this thing up again. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because it really doesn't matter per se. The only person who's going to know what's down there is you. And you slide it on in. Like so. Now this one is not needed at all anymore, so I can put this thing aside. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put this aside as well for right now. What you need to do at this point is your lighting. And basically it's a very bright LED. It's got a self-adhesive backing. So I'm going to pull this thing out here. And basically you're going to want to put it around the area here to shine through as best you can. And there's a little interface here that you would use to connect everything. So do you have to use all of it? Probably not. Because this is, I do believe it is cuttable at a certain spot. And these things get pretty bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unravel this thing first. Let's just see how bright it gets. LED technology has gotten pretty good. Very low power and very bright. Makes me still wish I had an old reel-to-reel movie player. That's what these things basically are right here. And let's get this thing out of here, like so. There we go. So we have our LED lighting here. And there's basically a bunch of holes here that would receive the items right here, like so. Just going to basically connect directly in here, like so. Then the only thing you have to do is get a 5-volt power source, which I'm going to get right now. Okay, I just found a USB power adapter I had lying around. I'm going to plug this thing right in here. And we'll undo the cable here. And I have an outlet a little bit off camera, but let's just see. You got a pretty good length of wire here. Just put it down just for a second, just to hold it over here like so. Stay. I want to curl up on that. There we go. Then we have our little smart remote here. Go put the battery in. And let's see how this thing works. Once you have everything connected, you have this remote control right here where you can change different colors. There's a sensor on the unit, so you can pick all the different colors, or you can cycle through them, or all flash them. So not too bad. So what we're going to do now is just kind of figure out how we're going to put this, what direction kind of we're going to put it on here. So that'll be the next thing that we do. I like blue. Let's go back to blue. Blue's nice. So when you're working with your LED light strip here, this is basically your control box. There's a small infrared sensor on here. You want to make sure that this is somewhere within that window on the front of your new arcade's front panel, so that the infrared signals can get through to here to change the light colors and turn it on and off and so forth. And you also want to make sure you can get your cable in somewhere so that obviously you can power the unit. So let's get started on putting this cable in. There is self-adhesive on the back right here. And if you have too much cable, of course you can not use it at all. You can cut it to length if you wish. But let's get started. Okay, so you can pretty much make any kind of pattern that you want with the LEDs. You have to make sure though that this here is exposed somewhere within the plexiglass, because that's where your sensor is going to be for your remote control here. And it may take a couple of trial and error. See, I did have it on one way and I didn't like how it looks. I pulled it off. These are pretty good. You can take them off a couple of times and reposition it as needed. But they're pretty bright. But you want to make sure you have the majority of them within this window. Some of these are outside the frame, but that's okay because they're kind of bent anyway, so that's okay. But the majority of the LEDs are where they should be in here. So when you do close this up, those LEDs, I'm going to turn this on real quick here, are going to shine through. And you can see the remote's got to work through that window, which is totally fine. But you can see how nice that looks already. But we're still not quite done just yet. So this basically we have this little piece right here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this still. I'll put it on for a little bit, but I may take it off. I think I may actually like the light coming up here on the bottom of the Mortal Kombat, but I'll try that out in a second. So again, just make sure that your LEDs here are sitting on nice, and it's okay if it pulls up here on the sides. because this stuff is very, very light and it shouldn't come off. But when it is where you want it to be, just go over it one last time, because you are going to screw this thing closed. You don't have to go back in here to fix anything that does come off. And I would recommend, I'm going to do it right now, I'm going to put a piece of Teflon tape or something right here, because if this wire gets pulled, it's possible I could pull this thing right off. So I'm just going to get a piece of tape just to hold it, just to make sure it doesn't get pulled off. You don't have to, but I'm going to do it. Now this is it's called Kapton tape, and it's really used for electronics. You'll see this sometimes. You open up electronics, there's a piece of tape holding stuff closed. That's what this is here, but it's not necessary for here, but it's very sticky. You know, it sticks very, very well. It doesn't care about heat or any electricity going past or through it. So I'm going to use it here just because, well, I have it handy, and it should work pretty well. So I'm just going to put a piece just like this. Push this thing down a little bit more. And this just to give some, really just some strain relief on this wire. I'm going to put one more, put two of them here, just to make sure nothing gets pulled. I mean, it's getting moved around. It's another power connector. And I just don't feel like having to open this thing back up if it ever gets pulled to the point where it wants to pull away from the wire there. Again, this is totally optional, totally not necessary. Just something that I'm doing just to give it a little bit more robustness in the spot right there. And so that's really it. So the next thing we really need to do at this point is to put this on. So we're going to flip this thing back up here, and we are going to reuse our original screws. Now you may have to lift this thing up a little bit just to make sure the screws are going in the proper holes. Okay, we can see my three cabinets here, and I have the Tulsa Arcade's light-up marquee down here installed. Let's turn it on and see how it looks. Okay, we'll get a closer shot because I think the camera angle is not going to show you very well how it looks. So I'm going to go down a little bit closer. Okay, let's have a closer look of the artwork. See, the print quality is very, very good, and you have choices of different colors here. That's obviously the white we have listed there right now, but we can change that using the included remote control right here. We have red, an orange, yellow. We can also cycle different colors. We do flashing. More of a strobe effect. Now, being this is Mortal Kombat, red might not be a bad choice. Okay, I'm going to go into a little bit more of a handheld mode at this point. But you can see right here, there is this color bleed coming through. I did not put the board in. There's a board that you would put here to stop that light, but I actually like that light coming up. It kind of lights up a little bit the emblem, Mortal Kombat 2, Ultimate Mortal Kombat. So I actually kind of like that look. I think that looks quite nice. But of course, you could also make it just white. You can do that as well. And you can see there is the light bleed, but I actually like that. I know some people probably do not, but I think that actually gives a nice lighting effect, again, as I said, to the rest of the cabinet here. So that looks pretty good. The issue with these cameras is they always have a hard time of, getting the bright and the dark. But I can say that the stand does look really, really nice. This gives off a nice color effect. And of course, you can get all different kinds of artwork for this, or even custom like he's done for me here. I mean, you get a Space Invaders, Mortal Kombat, emblem down here. But he made this one for me specific for my show. And I really appreciate Tulsa Arcades for doing that. I really, really am enjoying it. I think it looks great. Just a couple of final thoughts here on the Tulsa Arcade's riser modification. One of the probably the easiest things you could do is put something like this on your machine. People like modding these machines, and the risers don't have a lot going for them. They're starting to now having some decals, have artwork from like Star Wars or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on there. But how cool would that be to have something like the Star Wars one light up down here like the marquee lights up at the top? Or something custom like he's done for me here. In fact, you could also technically get this made and have this clear and put a monitor behind this and have a video playing. or something along those lines. So it's not an expensive add-on. It's very easy to do. It's just removing a couple of screws and putting some lights in there that are self-adhesive. So overall, I think it's very, very well done. And I really thank Tulsa Arcades for sending me one of these for review. So I want to thank you all for watching once again, spending some time with me here on Glen's Retro Show. If you did like the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and remember, no matter what you do or how you do it, game on.
Glen at the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.